Welcome back to the Fringe podcast presented by Imperial Golf. We got another banger of an episode for you, as the kids would say. Episode number 4.
Banger.
Already starting off
What a tool.
on a high note.
Love it.
Oh,
That's
boy.
cap.
We're-
I don't know.
Don't even try.
I don't know what that means.
So, speaking of trending topics, trends, Patrick Mahomes
Who's that?
won another Super Bowl. He's on TikTok.
It's on TikTok. No, that's Jackson.
Oh, right. That's his
That's
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, dancing on memorials.
Right. Oh gosh.
Another Super Bowl.
Do we have a dynasty on our hands?
Injured
here?
ankle.
Legit question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legit question. Dynasty or no dynasty?
Dynasty, no dynasty.
I mean, it's inarguably a convincing start to a dynasty.
Yeah.
I mean, what else has touched it
I mean, at this point, nothing.
since New England?
My general rule has always been three in a 10-year span or something like that would kind of constitute a dynasty. So I think they get one more. It's inarguable, but you can make an argument on the AFC side for sure that they're. I mean, it's hard to argue about 5 straight home AFC Championship games, which has never been accomplished. So
Yeah.
they're as dominant as you can be, and if they add another one, which I mean, goodness sakes, man, I saw a stat the other day that was they had the 3rd most starts from rookies, and the other 2 teams were the Bears and Texans, who won 4 games, and they won the dang Super Bowl. So
Interesting.
they've got 11 draft picks. They're loaded. It's if there's a time that they're going to repeat, I'd call it right now. They're repeating next year if they stay healthy.
With a building year this year.
A rebuilding year, yeah. Nuts. I mean, credit to
Like
them.
Tyreek.
Yeah.
I mean, as crazy as it sounds, man, like Andy Reid, probably the best coach in football right now, at least offensively. Mahomes is unquestionably the most talented player at that position in the NFL. And Brett Veach might be the best at his job over both of them, honestly. Like the moves he's made since he's been in Kansas City is, as a Broncos fan, has been incredibly frustrating to watch. But you got to respect it. He's made moves. They've cycled players out. They had a hodgepodge receiving core and still had the number 1 offense in the league. It's really impressive what they did. So yeah, I agree. I think they have the makings of it, and they get another one, then it's you can't debate it anymore.
Heck of a run, anyways.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, and even with the, you would think the Eagles again would be back in the same position next year. I don't really see anyone going anywhere.
Is
from
Philly
that
still? Is it still a city? Is it burned down?
Yeah,
Or does it
I
still
don't know.
exist?
I didn't
They
hear
only
about too
flipped
many
over
riots,
like 6 cars, so I think they're all right there. But
yeah, they
Philly-
lost 2 of their coaches.
So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
lost both offensive, defensive coordinators. They've got to pay Jalen Hurts, so
Right.
they're going to lose probably 6 or 7 free agents. But there's going to be a lot of contracts this summer. Burrow,
But Jalen's a cool story. though.
Jalen, there was another couple quarterbacks that are up for getting big paydays. But
Derek Carr.
How can you not be a fan of Jalen, though?
dude, I
Cool
mean,
story, man.
he is, and honestly,
To
like,
lose your job in college.
all the post-game pressers like really impressed me with the Eagles players. The cornerback as well that kind of was like, yeah, I held him. I just was hoping they wouldn't throw the flag.
Yeah.
Bit of a questionable call, but I feel like in
A lot
that
of 'em.
situation, you have to throw it.
Yeah.
It was isolated. It was one-on-one. When you look at a couple of different angles, there is an obvious jersey stretch situation there, and
And you see the wide receiver decelerate too with the pull.
Yes.
It wasn't just,
Yeah.
he was holding out of the jersey. It was he inhibited the break of the receiver.
100%. And to your point, like a week or 2 ago when we were talking about this stuff, I think the gambling has really influenced people's like, oh, it's rigged or scripted. And it's just like, oh, my word. Like, you sound like a 6th grader. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. And I think,
How do you
listen,
rig 22 players?
You don't. I don't think you can control it that well. And I think when you look at the play in general, you go back to the second quarter when there was an obvious missed call where same matchup, Juju gets held and Patrick's trying to hit him over the middle. There was an obvious like body turn scenario. They missed it. And one of the guys that I was listening to talking about that point was in that scenario as a coach, you're going to the official saying like, hey, look for 24 holding. which as a human being, now your eyes are looking for it. And so the next time that happens, the flag is thrown. Because some people want to call it a makeup call or something like that. I think that's just, for those of us who have played sports, you know, I remember going to officials, be like, hey, man, like, he's tugging on me. Like, look at this stuff. And then maybe you get a call, maybe you don't. But in that situation, you know, it's almost like they should have kind of let him go. If they scored, they scored. Then you get a minute and a half to try and even it up. But that allowed the Chiefs to just milk the clock. And
there are also just bad calls. Not everything's rigged.
Right.
Like, there are bad calls, and there are missed no calls that it just didn't get seen. And you're seeing an overhead view that's better than what any of those refs can see.
Yeah. Yep.
So
multiple camera angles.
Shit happens. Some of it's just literally described by that.
Right.
Yeah, and I have a feeling if it wasn't called, everyone would have been whining that the refs suck because
especially in this town
didn't see the call.
They'll complain about bad officiating when they win football games here.
Yeah.
So it's
So I think
that's coming at you, Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
It's just that
he is.
That is that. Yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I am calling you out.
Just call it like it is.
Yeah.
Stop whining. You just won a Super Bowl.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But
They're
they had every right to talk smack to the haters, because there was plenty of people saying like, all right, Tyreek Hill's gone. They're taking a step back, and this is a rebuilding year. Blah blah blah. You know, Bart Scott, I think, on ESPN was like, yep, they're not making the playoffs, and I was like. Okay, like, bro, you played in the NFL. What are you seeing? Like, that was a bit startling to me.
It was cool how classy a lot of the Eagles players were too. They took ownership.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases.
In both scenarios, the Niners players and Eagles players are much more likable than their fans.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
And I think it just comes down to good coaching too.
Yeah.
Just,
Agreed.
you know, you compare that to maybe like Cleveland. You know,
what's wrong with Browns fans?
Well, the fans would have been fine. It's the players that are the problem.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's just the culture of the organization is a little.
Well, so I threw up
more
a poll
suspect,
question yesterday about that Super Bowl. I mean, obviously our teams weren't in it, but when you take it kind of isolated, where would that Super Bowl rank for you guys? Because it was a pretty darn good game. Like a top 5, top 10 kind of matchup type question.
I'll be honest. I haven't actually watched a lot of Super Bowls, except for the last 10 years or so.
Okay.
I didn't get into football. I was more into hockey growing up.
Sure.
Played it, watched it.
But you have to rank the first one
Yeah.
in your list, and you didn't watch that.
Yeah, that's true. But I at least know about it.
As a Packers fan, I'm saying.
Like,
Right.
yeah. You go back farther than 10 years.
Yeah.
Other than.
Boy, that first Super Bowl was real good. I remember 0 plays and minutes of that.
Well,
It was a
okay.
great result.
Super Bowl 1.
Maybe 13 years.
I was negative 20.
Yeah.
So when the Packers won the Super Bowl 2010, I of course watched that one.
Yeah.
I watched that one. I was really engaged in that one, mainly because I was rooting really hard against the Steelers that year. I don't know if I was more happy that the Packers won or that the Steelers lost.
You were talking the other day about how you're kind of a Steelers fan, right? You love the Steelers.
Yeah, sure. That's what you got from that conversation.
I don't know. I'd go.
Oh, hate.
I'd put
hate.
this-
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, yeah, they're so close.
And I told you, like, hey, they gave Iowa their colors, at very least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't
That's
matter
about
to
it.
me.
I would put this Super Bowl top 5 for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I'd-
about what I was going to say.
Well,
Obviously, Packers Super Bowl's up there because I'm a fan.
you bet.
And I would say that, too, because I generally lean more college ball than I do NFL anyways.
Okay.
So it's just like JT's going to have the most accurate ranking of where that
Well,
lands.
it's still a
Yeah.
bit
It's opinionated.
subjective. Yeah.
I mean, number 1 for me would be the Steelers and Cardinals. Kurt Warner versus Ben Roethlisberger. Santonio
yeah.
Holmes getting that catch in the corner of the
so
end zone.
again, because the Steelers won it, like, it's such a hard thing to admit, but
Yeah.
that one was a rather iconic moment with, Santonio Holmes making that catch,
Yeah.
which I'm still questioning if his 2 feet were down, but
I would say they were.
Fun side note.
And I was
Middle
rooting for the
school
Cardinals.
a middle school language arts teacher was Kurt Warner's first cousin.
Really?
Yeah.
Kurt Warner went to our church growing up.
Yeah.
He lived in Des Moines.
I'm
or
his
lived,
child.
We're
lived in
grasping
Ankeny
at straws for fame here.
Yeah.
I bagged groceries with him
Like,
at Kroger's. No,
It's Fairway. There's no Kroger in Iowa.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's true.
It's what I grew up with, guys. Shut up.
My brother worked at Fairway.
Yeah.
I never did.
I worked at Hy-Vee.
He's a
as
bagger.
Direct competitor.
Yeah.
Well, it was just an interesting question I had because my dad and I were talking about this leading up to this Super Bowl, and mine, obviously, as a Broncos fan, is Super Bowl 32. I mean, the Elway Favre matchup. I mean, if you're looking at it objectively, it's one of the more iconic matchups. And when you go back to that timeline, what's really weird is people forget that Denver was a 14-point underdog, which, to my knowledge, is still the biggest point discrepancy going into a Super Bowl matchup. Because Green Bay was defending champs, they were coming back. They dominated through the majority of the year and the postseason, and Denver to that point just really had not followed through in that game. They were 0-4 as a franchise and not close. They were blown out in every Super Bowl appearance prior to that game, and that's when my little brother became a Packers fan because, of course, he can't root for the same team his brother's rooting for.
Never. Chris proved that by rooting for the Bears.
But he has stayed loyal ever
Never
since.
a Bears fan.
And then there was just some others, like same as you. I didn't watch live, but we had on like VHS tape. Super Bowl 23 was a favorite of mine, like the Bengals Niners second matchup with Montana and stuff. But yeah, there's a list that we could go into great detail there, but it's a bit subjective, honestly. I mean, you got to have the Falcons Patriots up there since that's the only one that's gone to overtime.
28-3.
28-3
Yeah.
as aggravating as it is to have Tom in that list. one of the all-time greats.
Or was it the Ravens 49ers? The lights going
The
out.
blackout game.
Blackout game.
I didn't have that one up there for me. It was a close one now that you mentioned that, but those were just two teams. Like that was a year I was like, I'm not watching this game.
Well, and one of the
Not
speaking of the Denver Broncos, one of the playoffs games I do remember was Broncos and Ravens, where Flacco put it over the top with
Hail
like
Mary.
43
Yeah,
seconds
that
to
one
go.
hurt. That one really hurt. Well, that was what led them to the AFC Championship game and eventually their Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
So, Denver was the number one seed that year. It was Peyton's first season in Denver, and our secondary just wasn't quite buttoned up apparently. So we paid for that one.
That prevent defense didn't prevent a whole lot.
Frickin' Jacoby Jones, man.
Yeah. Still a good game.
Yeah, but it's cool to be in a town that's experiencing it, even if you're not a fan.
It is, yeah, and just to see the I mean, I had the boys stay up, and we were blasting the Red Kingdom song on the back porch, watching fireworks.
Yeah.
Some guy.
Faux Chiefs fan, you.
No, I'm celebrating with them.
I know. My wife was making fun of you, of course.
I don't
I'm sure
care.
you can imagine.
Have kids, and we'll talk. The other thing was we had like a street from us, like there was a bunch of fireworks going off, and like a couple streets over, some guy like pulled out his 9mm, and it was just like.
Wait,
I was like,
what?
Let's go
Like-
back
like
inside.
actually?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, never
At
do
least went through
that.
3 or
in
4
case you're wondering.
clips. like,
Were they
okay.
blanks at least?
I had no idea.
You better hope so.
We
Yeah.
went back inside pretty quickly.
Oh my god.
Never shoot bullets in the air in celebration.
Yeah.
What goes up does come down
I mean,
with velocity.
it was a evening game, so
It's official advice from Brandon Tritek.
Yeah, that's good advice. Firearm safety.
yeah, fire safety. But Jolie like looked at me. She's like, "What kind of firework is that?" I was like, "That's a 9mm."
Did you see the guy, or was that like?
No, but I could
Yeah.
see the house it was coming from. Like he
Yeah.
must have been out there like shooting it into the ground or something. I don't know. I couldn't see any muzzle flash
Sorry.
or nothing, but I was like, okay, let's go back inside.
I got excited. Sorry.
Well, I was just
What model was it?
across the street.
armor piercing? Did it hurt when it hit you?
I was just across the street at our church here, and walk outside afterwards, and there's a guy shooting a flare gun in the air from his backyard, like parachuting down. This nice bright red flare coming down. I was like,
Immediate fire.
questionable, but yeah, it landed like right in the trees. Luckily, there
mean,
was
maybe
no on the
Flare,
ground
it's
and
red.
stuff.
It's fitting.
Yeah.
Chiefs, go Chiefs.
Or he was an Eagles fan and it was a cry for help.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually stranded on his back porch.
No, Christina was like, "Oh, what? JT's and he's a Chiefs fan now. Like, oh my god, it's ridiculous."
Yeah, God forbid I,
As close
I
as the
enjoy my
impression.
community. Good
That was
Lord.
my wife's mentality: is be a fan of the team that is in your city, whether you are or not. I don't ascribe to it,
Yeah.
but
I'm kind of in the middle. I think it's like there's a level of respect and enjoyment you learn to have with it, but that doesn't mean you necessarily migrate to the fan base.
Yeah.
Like if you're dedicated to a team, you're dedicated to a team.
No, and to like give myself a little bit of credit here. The jersey I was wearing, I bought
Eric
like
Berry.
6 years ago because I'm a big fan of Eric's story and
Who
and
isn't though?
yeah, and I bought it like so. I went to a Chiefs Redskins game back the year before Mahomes was a starter in 2017, and I wanted to go experience Arrowhead as just like I'm an NFL fan, man. I like good football. It's a sport I'm really passionate about, and I do have my team I like to root for. But we live in Kansas City, and they're having a large amount of success, and you know it took 20 years for my wife to get into football, and she's chosen now to like adopt a team. So I'm, you know, the lone man in my house as a Broncos fan at the moment.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. For all the clients out there that don't know, JT's a dedicated Broncos fan.
Well, I've worn Broncos gear our last 2 episodes. Like if they don't know by now, I don't know what to tell you.
That's probably why they stopped watching our episodes.
Could be.
Yeah.
I should have wore some red
Broncos
tonight.
fan? What an asshole.
What a dirtbag.
Oh,
So how old is Patrick Mahomes? Like 26?
27?
27.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
I thought he was like 24.
When
No,
he
that's
won the
Brock
first
Purdy.
one. When he won the first one, he was.
Yeah.
But he's now in a category with Peyton Manning, Joe Montana,
I mean,
and
everybody looks
Tom
old compared to Brock Purdy.
winning 2 Super Bowl MVPs and 2 league MVPs
Yeah.
at 27. That's crazy.
it's impressive.
The amount of, you know, records he's setting and he's not 30 yet is scary. Kind of crazy.
What do you think about his injury, like his re-injury? Like he popped right up from that pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got tweaked pretty
There's a
hard.
lot
though.
like that's a real deal injury though. Like the people that were mocking it, because even my wife was mocking it, but it's like that's like a high ankle sprain's no joke.
No,
Yeah, like
it's
a-
not. And my
And it doesn't
point of
mean-
view on that was the run he had in the second half where he outran linebackers for 20 yards like late in the fourth quarter. Like that's going to be a replay for decades as like an iconic Super Bowl moment. Like the fact that he had that issue and you can't fake it. I mean, I watched the sound effects episode on the NFL Network afterwards and he is like audibly in pain. Like screaming out and uncomfortable and stuff. And then some reporter asked him afterwards, like, you know, hey, what was your pain management stuff or whatever in the halftime? And he was just like, oh, yeah, they gave me something. And he like moved on. And it's like, you got shot up, didn't you?
Cortisol shots right to the
yeah, yeah.
You looked awfully calm and happy.
Right.
Really
Right.
quick.
Not quite as glazed over as the Super Bowl parade, but you look.
Yeah, well, 19 Coors Lights.
Or like
We'll do that to
Aaron
you.
Rodgers against the Bears when he went out in that
Oh,
first
yeah.
half
Oh,
with that knee injury and then
Yeah.
came back. His interview after that game
That
was,
was
hilarious
hilarious,
because
yeah.
he's just like,
Yep.
Did you guys see Mahomes? He handed off the Lombardi Trophy. You
to
didn't see that?
Are you talking in the parade?
parade?
In the parade, he's down talking to the fans, and he's so. I mean,
He just wasn't.
the guy was wasted, and he takes a picture with him, and then he hands him the trophy, and like walks off. And, like the guy's like, he doesn't know what to do. I like the
That's
clip
funny.
ends,
Hold
so
on to this,
obviously
bro.
someone went back and
Right.
got it. But
I did see him
even
throw
when he went
his-
over, he tried handing it to him. Then he was like, "Oh, he wants a picture," and then hands it to him and walks off.
Are you sure it was a real one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I love that. The
did
beer,
not see that
I
one.
love that the beer of choice is Coors Light.
I do too. That's my choice. I mean, he's like sponsored or an ambassador for him, I think.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
he's-
to
It's like Post Malone and Bud Light.
okay.
right. You see Travis Kelsey's jewelry, big
Yeah.
old like Bud Light can, all jeweled out.
That guy, I mean,
He's
that-
hilarious.
they have a way to. Those Kelsey brothers have a way of kind of getting into your, pulling your heartstrings.
Oh man, well Jason's just this down to
helps
earth
it.
dude,
Yeah.
and Travis has mellowed a lot. He's
Yeah.
way more likable now.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see his
You saw the-
SNL episode.
You saw the
Oh,
recent.
gosh.
You saw their podcast, right? Their
Mhm.
recent one, where they were
Well,
like both in tears
Yep, talking about Mama.
About Mama.
Mhm.
That'll get you every time.
Yeah.
Can't talk about Mama
Yeah.
without choking up. So no, it's really cool to see and their relationship and it's weird, man. They're both like top of their class at their position too. I mean, they're really, really good, smart football players. So it's it's easy to respect and enjoy their talent because we're only going to get them for a few more years. I mean, Jason was talking about potentially this being his last game if they'd have won. You know, he's 35, and at the center position, that's getting up there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Travis, I think, is 32 or 3, so he's got, you know, a handful of years left. But I don't know. He might be, honestly, the best ever at his position by the time he hangs it up in that offense.
Well, to segue this back into the golf world, talking about appreciating skill and passing things off, let's talk about Tiger Woods coming back. Genesis Open, hosting it. Didn't make the cut, unfortunately.
Well,
But,
all
So the
because
cut-
of today.
Yeah, the cut didn't
Yeah.
move then.
He played good yesterday.
yeah, he was 2 under round 1, 3 over today,
Yeah.
+1. Not
74.
Not quite making it.
Yeah.
Right.
But what do you guys think about his comeback? How's he look? How's the game look?
I think we're way too quick to judge comebacks
Yeah,
because everybody is.
2 rounds.
So many people are giving him shit already. It's like calm down.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's not 20 anymore.
No, he's
Like, and he's still hitting 360-yard drives.
yeah, he's
on
8 years
occasion.
old. So he's 46, I think.
Yeah.
47 this year. I think
Yeah.
he's 8 years older than me.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, he's going to be pushing
He's got
50 here soon.
Good
man.
DNA. As long as he wears a hat, he still looks young.
Yeah, him and LeBron need to just shave it, man. Like,
Just go,
just
go
get
Michael
rid of
Jordan
it.
on
Yep, go MJ. Make bald your thing. But no, watching his first round, I was again like he's just such a ball striker. It's phenomenal to me to see, despite his injuries now, what he's able to accomplish with the golf club in his hand. It just blows me away. The
Well-
short game isn't a surprise.
Yeah, the technique's going to come into play more, obviously, as he gets older. You lose
Right.
power, you rely even more heavily on just skills and ability.
I think that's why Phil was able to win well into his
Yeah.
late 40s and
Well, and he had a
early 50s.
reset with his physical approach, too,
Yeah.
though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he got big on losing weight, getting in the gym.
Yeah, when he wasn't chubby Phil, he started winning a lot more and executing a lot more. Started taking his fitness serious. He's a big dude, man. He doesn't. It's hard to see on TV, but like
He's
Phil's
not
like
look-
6'4".
Oh, tall dude, you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Tiger
He looks pretty,
Tiger looks way bigger than he is in actual real
but
life.
he's not. Yeah.
Because you've said that he just looks way smaller in person.
Well, that's what television does. It equalizes.
Tiger,
And it makes the tall guys, like you said, look less tall.
So, here's a question for you. Who wins next on tour? Tiger Woods? Charlie Woods?
Oh. I mean, what is Charlie, 14?
14.
Tiger. I mean,
Tiger.
that's
You think Tiger's going to win before Charlie's old enough to
well.
play on
Here's
tour?
the deal. That's let's say 7 years. Charlie's
Interesting
21.
question.
It is.
It's a good question.
In 7 years, Charlie will be 21.
Yep.
If he trends that direction, and that would be really impressive if he does. I know he's Tiger's son, but that's not an easy thing to get on the PGA Tour at 20 years old, 21 years old. And Tiger, honestly, he'll hang it up when he knows he can't compete with these guys. John and I have always said, like, he's not going to
No
play
senior
the senior
tour.
tour. And he openly
Probably.
talked about this week that he's not going to be an ambassador of sorts and go out there to hit first tee shots. Like, that's not
Oh.
that's not how he.
Yeah.
Now, maybe when he's in his 60s, I don't know, but Tiger's not going to be the guy they trot out there just to hit a ceremonial shot.
Now that'll be Ricky Fowler.
Oh.
It's accurate, and you know it. It makes total sense.
You messed
Just
up.
it hurts my heart.
I love
want it-
Ricky.
I want him to win so bad.
I want him to win so bad.
He's such a likable guy, and I
Ricky,
want him to
if you're
get
out
your
there,
shit together.
Win, damn it!
Gosh dang it!
You're better than this. I
Pull your
love
head
you.
out.
I just want to watch him count off strokes to bogey in a fairway again.
I
from
know.
Pulling out. That was
He's
great.
It's such
It's
a
like-
human moment.
Oh yeah, 5.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome.
I think I've done that actually. Hold out to save par
I've-
or bogey.
Oh yeah. I've definitely had a lot of
It
moments.
was a very relatable moment. Like, yeah,
yeah.
I've accidentally hit a good shot.
Really cool. He seems like a cool guy to hang out with. for
Oh
sure.
yeah, he's top of my list as far as like guys you'd want to play around and golf with.
Plus, I like riding 4-wheelers, and he was a motocross guy, so
True, there's that tie.
connect on that
Yep.
level.
And you used to wear all orange outfits.
I did.
I don't know.
No,
taking
Just a
all
guess.
white once, and then I stopped. Remember, because I played the worst round of golf ever.
Oh
was the outfit.
Do you remember that?
No.
Funny stories in Myrtle Beach. Yeah, that was the day I went to. We were playing golf right after school at Golf Academy.
Okay.
Went around and I was already in my golf attire for the day, so I wore it all white. I don't know why. Because it felt like being a douche that day. But it was like
It's
it was
a
like
Southern
white.
thing.
No, I mean like white. You don't
Yeah.
remember that? White shoes, white pants, white belt, white shirt, white hat.
White underwear.
Probably.
Tidy white.
No, black. You
Oh.
could see him straight through the pants.
Black thong. It was
Yeah.
really uncomfortable.
Commando. But so somebody at school that day was like, because I had my hair cut too at the time. I think I had it cut shorter, and I don't know if Jason Day did, but somebody was like, somebody said like, "Is Jason Day at our school today?" 'Cause I was a little skinnier
Well, with a
then,
good
too.
tan, yeah.
But I was just
yeah.
like, they saw me. They didn't see my face. They just saw me from the back, and they're like, "Somebody's wearing all white. He looks just like Jason Day." And I went and shot in like a frickin' 94.
Like,
I was like,
Clearly, that didn't work.
well, yeah, it got in my head because I was standing on the first tee, and I was like, this is a bad idea. I should not.
Where did you play? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. I just remember it being one of the worst rounds I played in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay.
And it was pretty early on. It was like
Oh, gotcha.
pretty much right when we got there. So I was like, lost and nervous and hadn't made any friends yet. So what better way to make friends than wear all white?
Well, I mean, it wasn't after Labor Day at that point, so
Yeah.
you're in the clear.
Yeah,
I still don't understand what.
never again.
isn't it don't wear white?
White belts, thankfully, got phased out pretty quick.
For the most part, I've seen them still.
I wore them. I ain't like bragging. I'm just
Right.
saying, like it was.
Oh, so did I.
That was a funny phase with golf because it was like we were bringing back, maybe not pastels and shit, but like
they
we
were
were
brighter
starting to get colors
Yeah,
back and
right.
the weird prints and then the loudmouth stuff with like John Daly.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then it was like, hey, white belts. Let's all wear white belts.
White belt syndrome.
Like, wow.
Hey, at least they moved on from the '90s couch patterns that they had on their shirts for a while.
That's true.
And apparently, like
Like
pleated
the floral
slacks
pattern.
Yeah,
are trying to
yeah.
come back.
You got the nice, or like just the diamond,
Yeah.
like all those diamond patterns
Argyle.
with paisley in it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why my brother bought me those
Pleated
white
khakis.
flak jackets. You remember those? And I like never wore them again.
White
Oakleys.
flak jacket? Oh, the Oakleys. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the original, like, I think they're called flak jackets, aren't they?
Yep.
The original
Yeah.
ones.
No, I know. Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, man, I'm douchey, but I'm not douchey enough to wear these. It was like a really nice gift because I'm like, these are Oakleys. These are
Right,
nice sunglasses, but I'm like, they're kind of bold, you know?
Yes.
It's like white frames, and then they didn't, well, they're
Those did
frameless on
carry
the
a stigma.
bottom.
Frameless on the bottom.
Yeah.
They got the rainbow, like purple.
They weren't my style.
lenses.
Yeah. But it was a super nice gift.
White sunglasses with an upside down visor. That's the way to go.
Yeah. Ian Poulter.
Boy band.
Well, there you go. Poulter kind of rocked that look
Oh, he
Yeah.
did.
for a
Yeah.
while. The spiky hair.
But he
well,
was always
this.
kind of a bold, like
I'm getting it cut next week. Thank
fashion
God.
guy.
It's getting long.
That is long for you. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It can actually be styled now, which means it's too long. You cut
High
it
and
shorter.
tight.
Yeah.
Go back.
So, anyways, don't wear white, people, especially white belts.
Especially if you are very white, then you just
Well, I have that going.
blend in with your.
Kind of half Mexican. So
Yeah.
white looks good on me,
Yeah.
but not all white. Especially white shooting a 94 white. That's not good white.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You'd
I
see
don't know.
this.
I don't know if that was my actual score, but it was bad.
You see the
It's a
people
bad
out on the
day.
course with loudmouth shorts and stuff. You'd be like, oh, they're gonna shoot 100.
I proved that.
It's like
Proved that theory.
not someone who's gonna do well.
Yep.
So speaking of brands, we had Ping in here this
Ping
week.
golf.
Yep.
Getting accounts set up with them, going through all the new equipment that they have out.
We'll be set up in 468 days. Probably.
Yeah?
That's
Is that when
my
our cart's
guesstimate.
coming?
We'll get pieces here and there. It's,
Yeah.
Be patient with us on Ping because like they're just they're like everybody. It's hard to get components.
Yeah, they're revamping their entire component system.
Yeah.
So they don't have anything for us 2024. They said they'll have something guaranteed.
Yeah.
He's trying to get
We're set up though.
test irons and stuff from
Yeah.
another account
Yeah,
that
and-
isn't using them currently.
Woods and drivers and hybrids. I mean, we'll be able to get into that stuff sooner.
Yeah,
But it's
driver,
mainly
fairway woods, all that.
irons and wedges. Just be patient with us. But we're definitely excited to work with them. Ping's going to be a fun company to
It
work
was a fun meeting, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool to get to see a little behind the curtain with that company.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to do things the right way. They kind of have the right goals in mind of just making good equipment to help
Yeah.
improve people's game.
Yeah.
That's kind of their whole thing. They're not trying to be the biggest. They're not trying to just pump out a full assembly line at 100% capacity.
Yeah.
They just
Well,
want
they're
to make good
not-
quality
yeah.
products, and
They clearly weren't, about pushing volume
Yeah.
in that capacity. But just to get to see, what I'm always intrigued by is like the tech stuff and how, well, a lot of times it goes a bit over my head, I feel like, but I love seeing like their reasonings for what they're kind of prefacing in design and like
Yeah.
what they're looking at with the driver heads or the fairway woods or the hybrids. And
Yeah.
it's just cool because I don't have an engineering mind, and to see them kind of lay it out. And I thought Craig did a great job of, showing us those details and keeping it simple enough that even I could understand it, which was nice.
Yeah, you kind of catch the nerdiness of it all. You can tell which companies are really obsessed with like perfecting their product.
No doubt.
'Cause
I
they'll do-
respect it.
The one easy way to know is they'll do stuff without marketing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
they're doing stuff in the background. They're not like boastful about it or talking about it. It's more like they want to pull you into a secret room and be like, "Hey, look at what we did on the inside of this golf club." And you're just like, "You really love this shit, don't you?" That's a good thing though.
Every 5-iron has fairy dust.
Yeah. But I think that's a fair measure. It's like, are you marketing first or are you engineering first? And
Yeah.
it really does show because companies differ on how they approach that.
They do, and
I'm
it's
not
that,
saying wrong or right.
right, and it's because every company has some real positive lineups to offer, and
Strengths and weaknesses.
Yep, absolutely. Everybody's got a
Yeah.
pro and con list, and so it's just cool to get a little insight into what Ping is about. We've had our relationship established with Mizuno for 5 years or 4 years now, and they've got holes in their lineup too, but it's fun to see where the strengths are with these brands. So
Yeah, and I mean that goes to the brand agnostic stuff we always talk about.
Right.
That, like, no company is producing the highest level of everything, and it's fun working with companies that acknowledge that. Like, hey, this is kind of our specialty. Like, this
Yep.
is what we're good at, and this is what we do.
yeah,
And they'll obviously try to make improvements in other areas and bring the
Sure.
bar up, like we talked about Mizuno in one of our last podcasts with their drivers. Like,
yeah.
huge improvements in the last 5 years. And
Oh gosh, yeah.
but essentially what they did was make themselves relevant in the driver game.
Yep.
Even on tour, I'm saying, not just like mass market,
yeah, all the
Right.
Mizuno players this year
Yeah.
are playing their new driver line, which again we
Yeah.
don't have in stock yet, but
Nope.
pretty
Should
soon
soon.
here.
Right. Yeah.
Vortec and all that.
Yeah, and with testing out the Ping equipment, like really impressed with the driver fairway wood. Fairway wood, especially similar to the old Adams tight lies, if you remember
Mm.
those. They're just really flat,
Shallow,
low to the
yeah.
ground, shallow.
Yeah.
Gets the ball up in the air, gives
Which
you good
not
speed.
for everyone. I mean, like the
Right.
real players are going to want a spoon. They're going to want
Yeah.
something with a deep face.
Yeah.
But like it's nowadays the shaft tech's so good that it's like, why make the game any harder if you don't need to? We've been able to find so many balances in fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to kind of fill that gap between 3-iron and driver. It's just, I don't know about you, but I feel like I haven't had a decent fairway wood in a decade.
Well, yeah, I can see that because you've talked about you'll hit mine once in a while and
Occasionally, but obviously the shaft
it's-
profile doesn't really match
Yeah.
what I would need, and so it's hard to know.
it's a
you know.
nice way of saying I'm slow.
Not at all. No. Is it
Asshole.
you have an Atmos? Right?
It's an Atmos. It's the 70.
Yeah,
The Atmos 70.
because you have that in both driver and fairway wood, correct?
70.
And those are just too high launching for me. Like
Yeah.
I spin the crap out of them.
Right, and I need the launch on
Right.
Mr. Low Flight.
you
so
hit it low.
That's
so,
why I'm excited to try it.
That's my point,
because
is-
I'll be able to launch those
Right.
again.
And so like I was talking to Brandon about this. Like I want something that's kind of closer to the 3-iron for me,
Yeah.
not something that splits the difference between driver and 3-iron necessarily, because it's just an awkward yardage when you're playing. And I just want something that goes a little further than that 3-iron, but is just as forgiving and
Yeah.
Can still hold a green with.
still hold. Yeah, you can hit it high and soft. So because I've never had a 5-wood. I don't know if you guys have, but I've
Not for
I
a long
have,
time.
yeah, I don't remember if I've ever had one, to be honest with you, that I liked and hit regularly. So I'm really anxious to try it out because the profile of them, like you guys said, looks phenomenal. They look great
Yeah.
at setup.
And I was just a really big fan of the driver. Like they've had the most forgiving driver the last couple of years, and they were able to add a little more ball speed and then change the face in a way that mishits you don't get that really big spike in spin rate or that really big drop off in spin rate either.
Yeah.
Just more spin being consistent across the entire face, and
Yeah.
so the new Ping G430 might end up going in my bag this year, pending testing out the new Mizuno stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, just overall performance, feel, control, really fantastic.
Or the Paradigm. You never know.
Yeah. Not so much. So Paradigm, I just couldn't get my spin rate high enough.
Oh, okay.
Like even going with
that's
the
so
less.
weird.
You didn't
That's
play
where
with
we're
it
at
that
now.
much, though, did you?
I tested like 4 or
Like
5
the
different
weighting.
shafts and a couple
Yeah.
different heads.
Okay.
And I could get my spin rate when I hit it in the middle to be right where I want to be, around 2100, 2200 RPMs. But any miss hit, it dropped to 1500
Oh, wow.
off the toe. And then the heel would go up to 3200.
Well, that's kind of what Craig was talking about with the ping face, though, right? It's like they're
Right.
reconciling basically off-center spin rates.
Right. They changed the curvature of the face to be a little flatter across the bottom, less loft at the bottom. So it'll launch lower, but it won't just go straight up in the sky, and you'll end up with more distance. And again, they have a really dumb marketing term, the spin consistency. Kind of there.
Well,
it's
he
like,
said that. Too.
it's like TaylorMade's forgiveness that they're doing. It's like, can we just stop with those, please, and just say, hey.
Yeah, but I immediately love it when the rep's like, it's stupid.
They're even admitting, like,
Yeah.
this is
But the
really-
driver,
really
it's
dumb.
cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's just a dumb name.
It's definitely worth a try. See if
And that's the part, like for the consumer, we have to help them get past that. Like, look past the chintzy marketing and look at like what the actual changes are, and
Performance.
and do like get a real fitting and learn about where the gains and losses are, because there is real science people behind this stuff.
Yeah.
Like whether
helped
you
my
like
game
it
a
or
lot.
not, it's not.
Right.
You get so distracted by the marketing of a club that you think it's all chintzy and it's all misleading, and it's like, no, they just come up with silly names, and
Yeah.
everything's technology. It's something technology, right? Or like spin consistency. There's always going to be silly names, but there's more engineering and more things going on behind the curtains than you often know.
And I think Ping is more of like he was talking about. There's an engineering and manufacturing company that happens to produce golf clubs.
Yeah.
You know, they're obviously they want to make the best product possible. But you can definitely see their engineering influence a lot more than other companies in that
Right.
they even make their own shafts, which other companies don't do.
To this day, by the way, they've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
And they're the only company, because I asked him that, remember? I was like,
Yeah.
aren't you the only company that has your own shaft line at this point? And he was like, I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty positive you're it, because
Yeah.
we had the phase back at Myrtle Beach. That was, 2010 or whatever timeline, where you had all those made for shafts.
Yeah, made for Adams Golf, made for
Yeah.
TaylorMade.
Right.
Which
They're still
turns
made by
out-
another company. They just
Yeah.
paid to have their name stamped
And it
on
turns out they were total dog shit.
it. Yeah. They
you
were all being
remember,
made at like the
they
same
were
cheap
like-
company and just
No, and they like we used to talk about that, how they weren't like, it would have like Aldila stamp or Mitsubishi or whoever, and it turns out it was just like a cheap like
Chinese
reenactment of the real thing or something.
I was just gonna say,
Just like,
wasn't-
that's stupid. and
Wasn't that at the
misleading.
peak of like the corrupted?
That was kind of when like TaylorMade hit R11 and stuff.
Well,
It was
yeah.
like,
No, but my
and then
point
bought
was,
out Adams.
wasn't that the peak of like when the market was just flooded with like non-legitimate equipment?
That
I
too,
mean,
yeah. There were
yeah.
tons of fakes. They were,
Oh, you're talking. That's what I didn't know.
because I worked up
You're talking about
up
fake
front of the
equipment.
PGA Tour
Yeah.
Superstore.
Yeah.
So we had to
Yep.
handle the trade-ins, or we would at least tag them
Well-
and stuff, and then handle the
We-
payouts for the trade-ins. And it was ridiculous
So-
how many fakes we'd get in,
Oh yeah. And in
especially
clubs,
the
and
R,
I
the
worked-
R11 especially.
And
There
I
were
worked in
hundreds.
fitting, and we did a lot of the pricing for all that stuff. So we were constantly dealing with the same thing, and you would like, some of them were obvious because you'd pick up on like font differences or like paint colors, or like, so you could just kind of tell something was
Yeah.
cheaper, and then you'd hit it and it would be like awful.
It sounds like you hit a tin can.
Yeah, it's like I didn't think anything could be worse than R11S, but something is.
But tailor-made with an E,
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
Yeah. But so the giveaway was the lack of serial numbers.
Right.
That was always
Oh,
like your
yeah.
first giveaway on the Hazel or something like that. Usually you have like a serial number or model number
Mm-hmm.
stamped on there, but
Yeah.
you get it wasn't just the craze of like that all came to be partly because people were trying to resell, and that was the whole point, right? Trying to make money off of fake golf clubs.
Right. Cycling equipment
Yeah.
every few months.
That was super annoying.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, we had quite a few that actually made it out to the shelves, and then someone would go to test it or buy it and be like,
Something's wrong with
this ain't right.
your ball speed is like 2 times the average of the other fairway.
Or half.
Something's wrong.
Or
Or
half.
half. Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could just hear someone hit it. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not a Nike driver.
Yeah.
Why does it sound like that?
Well, that's not a good comparison.
No, I was going to say, that one sounded like a softball bat anyway.
That's a Sasquatch.
Yeah. You can tell from a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
I had a guy when I first started working at the private club and as assistant pro. I was giving him a lesson. And he started hitting driver, and I was like, "Can I see that real quick? Is that thing broken?" But it was just an R11, and that's just how it sounded.
Well, that was they were like R11 originally was a big sound change.
Yeah.
Because of the sole plate.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had the adjustable sole
Oh,
plate.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that really
Movable
changed
weights and
the
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that changed the whole way that drivers sounded. Plus we were just coming out of like some of the like most annoyingly loud Cobras that were ever made.
And Cleveland.
If you remember those.
Oh yeah,
Cleveland.
I had a Cleveland
high bore.
I had the high bore.
Did you?
I did.
Those were terrible.
They'll sell you a driver and give you a set of earplugs with it.
Basically, yeah. So it's just that really thin titanium, and they didn't have
Right.
anything to deaden sound, and it was
Yeah.
just you'd hit it, and it was just a loud, just ring your ears for a week.
Yeah, that's a lot why golf clubs are sounding a lot different these days with sound deadening and whatnot.
Well, and with the carbon components too.
Composites, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, and we were just going over some spin rate stuff with your driver yesterday, right, Joe?
I need some spin.
Joe's got a good golf swing.
He does.
It's a decent swing.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Got some
Didn't
stuff
ask
to
your
work with.
opinion.
You got
Good
it.
golf swing.
It needs some work.
It's like, I mean, for my assessment's like it's like 92%.
Yeah.
It's good.
What did you think, like, just, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but, like,
Yeah.
getting through the video stuff and kind of seeing that laid out for you and then doing some sim testing?
Yeah, I mean I knew that's exactly what I needed,
Yeah.
but it just took a while though. Well, it takes a lot of trust too, to trust somebody to.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
I'm such a, like you guys probably are too, like to work on your stuff yourself. Like I'm a DIY. I'll DIY until I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I knew like I would only get so far until someone looks at it. Because I mean, half that stuff I would have had, unless I'm taking video of my swing.
Right.
Even if I did, I don't know what I'm looking at.
If your swing coach ever doesn't cut it, just give me a call.
I got.
You got a few other options.
I got
yeah.
options.
You got options, yeah.
I'm way better.
No, but to your point, man, like I've used that testimonial the last couple years of just like I did my own swing adjustments for the most part, trial and error, and felt like I could have expedited that process a lot faster had I sought more help. And that's the only regret really I have is like I did go through it and grinded through it as much as I could, but I felt like looking back, that timeline could have been condensed down to something way more manageable and could have saved myself a lot of heartache had I just sought help and trusted somebody,
Yeah.
But, my students now benefit from all that trial and error.
Got a lot of pride.
So,
a lot of
Once in a
pride.
while, you even learn from your students.
Yeah. Oh, man. I
Like,
mean, I
for
feel like I
instance, how to
picked up
hit
stuff.
fades properly.
Oh, God. Yeah, that was a fun day.
Zing!
No joke. Yeah, should I go into that story?
It's a quick, fun story.
I mean, it was just hilarious that I'm in the back room where we are now, actually on what was our other simulator, and I'm just hitting shots, and I have a student who I'm working with, and she's a talented golfer, former college player, decorated amateur career, and she's just kind of observing me hit shots, and she's like, what are you doing? And I kind of start explaining how I'm trying to shot shape, and I'm not really adjusting my feet. I'm just kind of sitting there, and so she just asks the question, like, well, how are you trying to do that? And
Yeah.
I got really confused really quickly because I was like,
As
well,
her swing coach.
As her swing coach. Well, as I was telling John afterwards, I'm like, well, no one asks me those questions.
You remember what I said?
No.
When she was like, because she was talking about your alignment, right? And then
Yeah, basically,
when
like,
you
why
hit
don't you
fade,
just
why don't
adjust
you
your
just
feet?
why don't you just open your body up and
Right.
leave the club face at the target and play the ball a little forward?
Right. Just like minor.
And then you were telling me about it after, and I was like, you didn't know that? I was like, this reflects on me.
Well, it
I
was.
didn't train you very well.
No, it wasn't that necessarily. As a player, like you know this,
Closer
like,
to Tiger.
we go through this all the time on the golf course, man. Like you can teach it all day, and then you get in to hit your golf shot, and there's just things you forget because you play 20 rounds a year.
In the defense of a good player, when you have the ability to work the ball like you do with your hands, that's a 1%er thing.
Sure.
So it'd be easy to miss that or lose that when you already kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah,
in
and
movement. Yeah.
that discussion led to like some light bulb moments for me over the next couple months because it was just like, holy crap, I've been making this really difficult on myself, trying to time this,
That's
and
why I
put it
hit an
together.
80-yard slice.
Whoa, that's why I'm terrible on these types of shots. Yeah. It was, but that's what I love about it, man. With this job, I mean, you'll coach and try to give people structure, and then occasionally you get a student that can, shed some light on some things. I mean, that's incredibly rare, but
And then you go home and can't sleep at night. Question your entire career choice.
now I'm
Why am I
over.
here?
I'm over that.
I'm not.
I'm over that. I can let that stuff go now.
Yeah. For sure.
So that kind of leads into a question of what makes a good and a bad student.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow. Well,
Prerequisite. What's your name? Oh, zing.
yeah. I mean that you can
I'll let
say
you go first.
quite plainly. If you're doing a weekly program with us and that's your 30 minutes of golf every week,
We're in trouble.
you're probably not going to see the improvements you want to see. When you're doing the dry reps, when you're going through some drills, when you're sticking to the process, I feel like a broken record most days because I'm trying to talk about what that process looks like for everybody, and because we have this preconceived notion that you don't need to be this phenomenal athlete to play golf, that it's pretty much an easy sport, and the concepts, as you guys well know, are not difficult to comprehend, especially with video. It just feels like you kind of see it and want to do it, and especially for adults, like they see that and it feels like, okay, cool, like I get it, now I'm going to go execute, and then it takes months and months to kind of get to that next phase, right? And so I think
Which is why people get frustrated.
yeah, that's where the frustration comes in. It's like, well, I know this, I know the concept, I even do it in practice swings, right? Because the ball's not there and I can execute it. And so that timeline of when a student can transition from the practice swing to contact shots and is still executing it, I think it's really down to just them doing their homework. Whatever drill you're giving them, if it's 5 to 10 minutes a day, I tend to try to keep it simple for people, just to eliminate excuses.
And we're well aware winter's not ideal. Like we
Absolutely
don't
not.
live in a perfect climate. But
No.
like there's still plenty of value in some of the simple at home things that we give you.
Yep.
And I mean I have a lot of discussions this time of year with people where it's like, hey, 3 times a week for 10 minutes, like do this movement.
Right.
And it's just like it's so easy to take that kind of too lightly, and ignore it. And it's like you're training your body to make a movement. You don't need to be hitting a golf ball every single time.
Correct.
And then I think the frustration of a lot of people with the timeline of it all, like you said, knowing concepts and then not being able to immediately translate it. I think a lot of people's timelines are skewed because we were talking about how like
Yes.
they measure golf on years put in and not like actual
Right.
hours,
Yeah.
which is stupid. 'Cause you get but think how many people play golf twice a month.
Right.
And they're like, but I've been playing like 30 years and I still suck. And it's like, yeah, like twice a month and you don't practice.
Yeah.
Like that's a stupid metric.
Well, I'd be curious to get your guys' take on this too, because in my head I kind of concocted like what a novice would still be, and I feel like below 250 total rounds would still be rather brand new to the game. Because I had a guy a couple weeks ago, wrote down like a lot of people do, been playing 20 years, and then come to find out like 18 of those years was 4 to 5 rounds a season, which isn't uncommon.
Which basically
For
doesn't
us.
count, by the way.
Right. So
It's not golfing.
I kind of explained it to him this way. I'm like, okay, well, let's just boil that into like a total number of rounds played then. And then you draw that out over all these years. It's like, yeah, I could claim I've played for 32 years, but I've played seriously and intently for 16,
Yeah.
right? And that's, where the majority of my improvement came from 07 to like 13, where I probably amassed 500 rounds of golf. That's where all my improvement came. I mean, I played as a high schooler, but I think I had less than 100 rounds of golf in my life up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, to your point, dude, I think we maybe need to re-evaluate that question. But I think total rounds played is a much, much better indicator of like where somebody's skill set might be.
Yeah, another metric for me for like what's a good client or good student is super cheesy, but it's like it's attitude. And that, as simple as that is, it's like if you got a golfer that's going into every shot like huffing and puffing because of how the last one went,
Yeah.
dude, like even I'm disengaged at that point. And I'm like, you know me, I'm engaged to a fault. I will
Right.
I will attack a person's process when they have long checked out, and I stay at it. But like, that's that attitude portion of just like be engaged, Like
Yep.
when you come in here, it's not like a half hour to just like twiddle your thumbs and look at the ceiling.
Or taking yourself entirely too seriously.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's just like have a healthy approach mentally, and the way you do that is you just practice being in the moment. We talk about pre-shot routine and stuff like
bet.
that in real
Yeah.
rounds, and most of the golfers that struggle mentally, it's because they struggle to get in the moment, and it's like that's simplifying it, but it's
Yeah.
pretty accurate, I think.
You bet. Yeah,
You know?
they can't. And I obviously, like, we're kind of learning. I mean, as we discussed last time, like, you had almost a predisposition to be able to kind of stay shot to shot, whereas I had to learn that, similar to Brandon, I think, probably, right? Where you're trying to get better at being more shot to shot and
Or just better at,
positive self-talk and
well,
all that stuff.
depends on the round, but.
So then, yes.
That's a great segue
Well,
into
What I mean by that is if the round is for a serious score versus I'm just out there messing around. But
Okay.
I can focus when I need to.
That's actually
and
a
I can
really,
take it seriously when I
no.
need to.
So I struggle with that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get, even it's like regardless of how I'm playing, it is easy to slip into like fun mode, but to the point like where it's to the detriment of your process. Because I do that.
Yeah.
There are moments where I'm just like, even if I'm playing good, but also more easily if I'm not playing good, it's easy to kind of just be like, we're just kind of having fun and hitting golf shots.
Right.
But that can't be to the detriment of like your whole pre-shot routine.
Right, which is the only criticism I have of your golf game. And
Well,
I
I
think
have that criticism.
my point is, though, you can slip into...
You can't have it. I have it.
It's mine.
Shut up.
You can't fire me. I quit. No, but my point is, you can still have that fun mode, and then I just have this 10-second process that I go through.
Yeah.
The attitude can stay, to your point, the attitude can stay the same. I don't need some, weekend warrior to have this tour level intensity about their pre-shot process.
No, what I meant was just like general positivity and being in the moment.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying being
But
intense.
the point is, when you're slipping into fun mode, as you say, like, that's when you're completely skipping over your process and then just stepping in and hitting golf shots, which
But you can do both.
I did recently. Like, I'm still guilty of it. I'm just saying you can have a mixture where this is how I hit a golf shot, but I'm also out here just to enjoy myself and have fun. And that I go back to like my free throw routine as a basketball player. It didn't matter if it was like street hoops or a pickup game at a YMCA or I was in an actual tournament.
For that moment, you're
I
in the
hit free
zone.
throws the same exact way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I try to promote behaviorally with our golfers is if you're hitting range balls or you're practicing for 9 holes with no score or you're going into a tournament, your pre-shot routine should be identical.
Yeah.
That's a non-negotiable. If you're trying to be consistent, it's behavioral more so than anything, and your body feeds off of that.
Essentially stopwatchable.
To a point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to be like within a tenth of a second, but it
Yeah.
needs to have the same rhythm and cadence because your body feeds off of that.
Yeah, which even in competitive golf, like my personal style was very much like get engaged only when I need to and then have fun the rest of the time. Because I was that way in Myrtle Beach, even playing in tournaments, So, like, but that's the problem is when I think really that's what most golfers struggle with because golf there is no purpose to it other than relaxation. It's like why it's so damn hard for people to have routines. So like golf's all about just getting away from work and getting away from life.
Not to put you too much on the spot, do you feel like that's a fear of getting too serious about it and it ruining it almost, or you don't function that way?
Maybe a little. That doesn't put me on the spot. That's a fair question. But I'd say it's more just how my brain feels comfortable. Is like I'm too much like a dog seeing a squirrel. I don't like. I can focus intently for moments. So it's not about not wanting to be serious.
Clearly,
it's. No, I mean it's not like a fear because you pose that as a question. Like, are you afraid to like take it too seriously?
Well,
it's
yeah.
Like, not really.
Okay.
No, I think it's more just like I have a limited attention span. Squirrel. Yeah. Practice, John. 12 seconds. That's all you need to do. 12 seconds. Then you can disengage for 5 minutes.
Right.
I think probably in moments it's fair to say that played a role when I was younger or went through stressful times. So like 4 years ago, when I went through that phase with just like trying to learn how to separate myself from business and then yes,
sure,
for sure. Like then it plays more of a role because it's kind of like, this sounds deep and dark and awful, but it's like you're in this phase where you're stressed out with whatever in your life, and that doesn't have to be golf related, right? For me, it was business and it was just normal things. Yep. And that fear of like, I'm not playing any golf. You remember how little golf I played there for a few years.
Yeah.
It's like pathetic.
Yep.
And it wasn't completely out of want. Some of it was like I lost desire a little bit because I was just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But then you're pulling that shit with you on the course, and it's like, yeah, I'm afraid to take it too seriously when I'm that stressed out.
You bet.
Because I'm not even there playing golf. My brain's somewhere else. Like,
yeah.
Like stressing about bullshit I can't control. So,
which is,
I had to learn how to
and now
get
you
away
use
from
that as somewhat of a testimonial with our students, man. We see that weekly.
Yeah.
If they've got stressful jobs, and that happens, people do a lot more stressful things than we do.
Yeah.
And you can imagine like how difficult it would be to disengage from that stuff.
Yeah.
I think I have the exact opposite problem of you, where I start off the round and I just can't focus on anything else other than like every shot, and just playing every hole. I can't disengage after the shot.
And then it wears off after a certain amount of time?
I hit usually about hole 11 or 12, and I just get so mentally exhausted that my whole game just kind of falls apart at the end. Right. Or I completely lose my process. Or
I think some of that's personal, though, right? Because, wasn't that Tiger's, whole intimidation factor was that he could just be on, most of the time? And some people can't operate that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's somewhat personal? Because for me, I might be wrong on this. This is just my own personal assessment, but the whole turn off or turn on, turn off thing to me is the only way I survive.
Well, I think Cantlay talked about this a couple years back when he had a really good season, and they kind of talked. He got a bit made fun of on social media because people were just like, "Dude, you're like a zombie on the golf course." And his point was that he used Tiger as a comparison, said well, I can go into Tiger's game mode, but then Tiger would have fist pumps and have outbursts and stuff, and then could re-engage.
Yeah.
And Patrick's point was I can't do that. I have to stay in. I have to stay locked in for 5 hours, and and I think it's interesting to see a tour pro at that level perform at that level, understand his own mental gaps that he has to avoid.
Yeah.
And it takes playing enough golf to discover that stuff. Improving your game mentally is the weirdest, most complex thing ever.
Because you really can't do it yourself.
No.
And
I've read books.
A therapist.
I've
a sports psychologist.
Videos. Yeah. I've read a lot of sports psychology books the last couple of years that have helped a ton.
Yeah.
We talk a lot in here about remaining in a neutral mindset and becoming emotionless about the golf ball and the result, because that's really the only effective way to play a consistent competitive round is you do your job, you go through your process, you hit your shot, and then you find your ball and you repeat it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the result was. And so that has taken me 5 years to get into a consistent rhythm with. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's been way more challenging than anything I did swing-wise.
Yeah, from my point of view, if I were to try to critique what Brandon struggles with, it's maybe that he internalizes a lot of pressure, and that's why he gets exhausted after 11 holes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's not the being focused part. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's the pressure of performing, and then like when you don't perform to whatever the hell your current standard is, by a hole 11 you're like whatever, and you just kind of like check out.
And then you play really good.
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Well,
Is that semi-accurate though? Did
I would say yeah.
somewhat of an internalized pressure thing?
Yeah, I definitely. Just standing over any shot, just all of a sudden have this onset of anxiety for a second of like, this could do property damage.
Random. Do you step off though? Like when you have moments like that, do you step off and
no? Because it
try to
happens every
clear?
time.
So do you step off
Every
every
single
time
shot.
now?
No,
You might need.
I'd
to.
never finish. I'd never get off the first tee if I did that.
Yeah, but you need mechanisms, right? And
Yeah. We need a new trigger thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is any of this landing with you, Joe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I think that just shows the importance of you guys. I mean, I feel like on tour, most of those guys, it's not like their swings getting all out of whack. That'll happen here and then, but most of the time it's mental. I mean, you hear these guys, they're like, I'm in a bad headspace. Like, I got to take a break, and that's why you need a coach. You need someone who can,
That's why
you need a different perspective, because sometimes you're just in your head. It's just,
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it's as simple as you need a perspective that you already have, just heard by. Or you just need to hear it from someone else.
yeah, you just need a different angle.
Oh, yeah. I've said that several times, that some of our most impactful lessons are like positive affirmations.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing this right. Like, own it.
Yeah.
Hit the damn shot.
Yeah.
And like the confidence thing is a big deal, because and I don't know John's take on this, but I feel like the players I've worked with over the years, when they're trying to break through that, like, shoot into the mid-70s consistently threshold, it's not exclusively confidence, but has a lot to do with that. And I mean, it's kind of,
There's always some skill stuff.
yeah, they've got, if you're shooting mid to low 80s, like, you're a decent player, man. Like, you got a lot of good things working for yourself. But you probably need a sharper short game.
Yeah.
Your wedge play inside 100 yards probably needs some improvement.
Yeah.
But then mentally, like, that's where the biggest gap typically is. I know that was the case with me. And I go back to those years where I was trying to break 80 consistently, and it felt like shooting a 78 was like an accident. Like, oh yeah, well, that's not going to happen again, kind of. And then when I broke 70 for the first time, I like expected it. I was like, well, yeah, I'm a good player. Like, I should be shooting those scores. And so, strictly confidence wise, it was just like, yep, all right, this is the golfer I am. And when we get young competitive players, I'm like preaching that early and often. Like, I don't care if you think you can't break 80, go shoot 72. To hell with breaking 80. Like, shoot even par. And then if you fall short of that, you shot 77, like.
That kind of thought process
Set the tone.
applies to a reminder that you gave me in putting recently, and I took that to heart.
Oh, really?
It's like, you know how easy it is to play your putting game as like, oh, this is a lag putt, get myself close, and then I'll just tap in. And it's like the flawed thinking there is like, actually, you should be trying to make everything.
Yep.
And the stats, like, it doesn't matter what the stats say. It doesn't matter that you're at 28 feet and this is like an 8% make percentage.
Right.
That doesn't matter. The point is, like, the only way you end up being super accurate is you act like you're gonna pull everything off.
Right.
And then that kind of, in a lovely way, it coincides with all the best athletes in the world that have attitudes that almost kind of spill over. Their confidence is like through the roof, and sometimes not justified. Right? Like, the skills don't always back it up, but it's like they literally sometimes talk themselves into performing.
Yeah.
Which is, I'd rather have that than be the opposite.
No doubt. Yeah. And I think for me, the positive, thought process, when I read through a book called It Takes What It Takes is the title of it. It speaks to the science behind negative mindsets. and how we can prove that your mood can change, your attitude will shift, which obviously is going to impact performance, right? So not to say, to your point, that I can talk my ball into going into the hole, but rather I can avoid the negative attitude, and by way of doing that, I can forego maybe the strokes I'd give away because of my negative mindset.
Limit
and so
damage.
it's not being delusionally optimistic, like I need to birdie the next 5 holes. It's that, okay, I've made a triple, I'm going to hit this next shot in the fairway.
It's factual.
It's present-minded and staying in the moment. And that is something that, like, reading through that book really painted a vivid picture for me of, dang, like, I don't need to be this, weirdly optimistic guy. I just have to stay level-headed about my circumstance and know that if I hit 100 balls on the driving range, 90 of them are going to be decent.
Yeah.
So why am I stressed about that 10% miss? And that's what most amateurs really struggle with, is they see a bad shot and it's like, here we go.
Well,
Here goes the round.
The greater scheme there is because, like, you look at golf, especially without a caddy, which is basically everybody,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Most people don't have a caddy because we're not that lucky for all of us to have a partner in crime there going through our round.
Yep.
But, like, that's basically what you're saying is take the golf out of it is, like, why are you having such a hard time resetting all by yourself?
Yep.
Which nobody does well in life at all. Like, in work environments, in relationships, like, we lean on each other and rely on each other, and especially in times of struggle, to be like, hey, get your head out of your ass, or like, here's a process, go do it.
Right.
And that's really describes why golf's so damn hard.
It is.
Because it's one of the loneliest sports where most everyone
it's
else
time.
doesn't give a shit about you.
Right. Because you've pitched, you've played other sports, hockey, stuff like that. Same with you, Joe. When you're in those moments, you can persevere because it's a bit reactionary, right? I mean, the moment you're thinking about
and those sports,
handling the puck, and then staring at the ground and not looking up and trying to track your players,
Right.
and, anticipate stuff, or the moment you're thinking about your mechanics as a pitcher, like, see ya.
Which happens every time, like, when it's 3-0. It's amazing.
But then
I can't throw strikes.
Right, and the pitcher's probably the poorest analogy because you do have moments to think about it. But I think with golf, that's why, because of the time between shots, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You time a football game or a basketball game for 5 minutes, you'll see 7 mistakes.
Yeah.
At times. So you have all this time to think through stuff, and so
We
you
need
really
shot
do
clocks.
have to be organized mentally a bit, or at least structured.
New format of golf.
Shot clocks.
7 seconds
Oh boy,
to hit your shot,
that'd be quick for me.
or you're penalized a stroke.
Oh, or you'll have a
Thought
stroke.
45 was bad enough.
What's that?
Thought 45 seconds was bad enough.
No, 7 seconds.
Yours isn't 45 seconds.
What? No, that's the limit of the rules.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about your pre-shot routine. I'm like, I've played with you. You don't take that long.
No.
Okay, no.
No, but like what a
Maybe I should.
what a shot clock would do is it'd be awful at first because you'd be rushed because you'd be like, oh shit, you'd be watching the numbers tick down.
Right.
But eventually, you're talking about pre-shot routine and having a process.
Yep.
You would be forced to be like,
Step in, go.
like quick practice swing, visualize, execute,
Which,
and it would just
We're not all Brant Snedeker. We can't do that. But
well, what's funny though is last summer I went to the KC Classic, seeing the Corn Ferry guys, and what really stood out to me was that exact detail. Now I don't know if just the nature of them being younger and it's that environment, and they're all kind of former college players, and you do play fast in college because there's way too many teams, not enough daylight.
invitationals.
Yeah. And so maybe that was part of it. But that was an observation where it felt like every guy I watched was, from the time that they had kind of like gotten the club from the caddy and it was their turn to hit, was less than 10 seconds, ball was gone.
Yeah.
And I've timed myself. I know my routine's 15 seconds. Just so I have that like internal clock, and because you're only going to shorten it. Like, it doesn't typically go longer unless there's something that disrupts you. But in general, like, that was something that kind of fascinated me and like really made me reevaluate my own process. Like, am I taking too much time? Do I need to speed up certain parts of it? So that was something that I'm kind of in agreement. I do think that you can get in your own way there.
Yeah.
I had a friend who played in the Missouri Valley Conference. He played college golf. And he said half the guys there just just wanted to get the round over with. They'd play in under 2.5 hours for 18 holes in competition golf. And half the guys would just, as they're walking up to their ball, they'd gauge like the distance to the whatever distance marker. They'd pull a club, set the bag down, and they wouldn't even stop walking. And they'd just they'd do like a slow Happy Gilmore, just walk into it and hit. And that's just how they played their round of golf. And then they go back, pick up their bag, move on to the next shot.
Were they a top 25 team in the nation?
No.
Okay.
They're Missouri Valley Conference. It's kind of smaller, but
I mean, not that.
Just want to get out of there. Clearly, don't care.
Yeah.
yeah, they just.
That's
But
just
they'd still shoot.
completely
They'd still shoot like 70,
Yeah.
72.
Well, if you have
and stuff
skill,
like that.
I mean, a lot of that's skill still.
Well, you go back to like the early days in the early 1900s, and like major events were finished in 2 hours and 30 minutes, and they were shooting 3, 4, 5 under.
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret that today's tournament golf is just a complete, slow process. I mean, tour players complain about that
Yeah.
all the time.
Or Kevin Na playing the fastest round of golf on tour. It was like an hour and a half or something.
Because he was running.
And he
Like,
birdied.
his poor caddy.
He birdied like 5 holes on the back nine.
yeah,
Playing
it's
that.
ironic because he's known for being slow.
Exactly.
He is-
That's
those-
why I did
he
it
had
too.
a couple of brutal years there, man. He was
Yeah.
very slow to pull the trigger.
Yeah. Not
He
to
had one of the
mention
big
this.
numbers like John Daly.
He shot a 16
Yeah,
because he got
Daly
lost
had
in
a-
the woods, kept taking unplayables.
that's right.
couldn't
Daly
get
had a
out.
14.
Right, put like 3 in the water,
Yeah,
trying to hit the green in 2 on a par 5.
You almost expect that from a John Daly, though.
that's true. He only
Is that
played-
when he like threw his club in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And in his words, he only plays good drunk anymore. There was a story that
When
he went
was
to
it
the
to you?
National here, and I won't tell all the details because some of it's kind of not PG, but like there was like 2. I don't know if it was like a charity thing. It was a couple rounds of golf or something, and he had like told the clubhouse he needs a 12-pack per 9.
Wow.
Yeah, was just like crushing beers.
I mean, I'm not a
time,
beer
and he
drinker. I couldn't.
and he shot like
function.
4 under on each round, like just drunk.
Well, I remember when his party bus rolled up in front of the golf academy when we were down there
Oh yeah,
at the
for
Monday after the Masters.
Masters.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And he just yelled at a couple guys who were out in front of the golf academy, "Hey, hop in!"
yeah.
And they showed up. The bus came back at like 9 a.m. the next morning, dropped them off for classes. And they
It was
wouldn't
the
even talk
perfect
about.
place to roll up on for
Yeah,
That's
sure.
true.
They wouldn't even talk about what happened. Like,
And that's probably wise.
we can't say anything about this.
Yeah. Why'd you tell the story then? He's his own breed.
Were you guys volunteering for that too?
I did, yeah.
Were you guys?
I walked with. I
don't
held the
think I-
scoreboard for Jason Kokrak.
You were in the group
Oh,
behind
yeah.
me then, because I was in Bobby Gates' group right in front of you, and we
Okay.
were up on the 10th hole, and they were both kind of BSing, and it was I'll never forget it because Jason's a big dude. He's like
6'5", yeah.
and Bobby similarly, like Texas A&M. I mean, he didn't have much of a PGA career, but they were both like on this kind of like drivable. I mean, in air quotes, it was like 365
Yeah.
par 4
To the front.
and Bobby hits his driver like airmails it to the front edge and kind of rolls through. We're up there on the next tee, and Kokrak like hits it over,
Yeah, he flew it on the backside of the green.
and I was
about like 370.
wow.
It was a
That's-
little downwind, and it was straight line. It was probably about a 350 carry,
Yeah.
but he carried it 350.
Yeah.
This is 10 years ago technology, 11 years ago technology.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like seeing that in up close in person was like, wow.
Well, and what was really cool about that, so he was on I still remember, we were on hole 13, waiting to hit into the green for the second shot, and he gets a phone call. And it's like, you were second alternate, 2 people withdrew from the tournament. You're on the PGA Tour. And that was his first PGA Tour event.
Oh, wow.
Was that next weekend?
That's crazy. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a worth it phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, he took
Hang on.
Hey, excuse me.
I mean, he knew he was
PGA
on the
Tour was
alternate
going.
list, so he had his phone on him. He was checking
Easy.
it at like every hole. He would check it.
Wow. Yeah, he's had a decent career, I guess.
And still hit golf shots played. See, that kind of tears
Oh, I'd
down
been
our whole
done.
focus argument
Well, he had enough
Right.
liquor in him too to be
Well,
nice and loose.
to
True.
balance it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun event.
Furyk went to it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Annika
Yeah.
Sorenstam was
Yeah,
there.
Furyk was out there with his upside down backwards hat the whole time.
Which, I mean, he was cool. I snuck backstage at the House of Blues, when they were hosting like the
Hootie and the Blowfish.
Hootie and the Blowfish. That's right. Darius Rucker was there, and I kept seeing these guys coming in and out, and there was just this like high school age kid kind of just standing at the gate with like a shiny vest or something, like he was security. And I'm just standing up there this whole time, and I see a couple people coming in and out, and I think his name's Gary Valentine, the guy that was in like King of Queens.
Yep.
You know, a couple Adam Sandler movies, and he is just shit-faced, like absolutely schnockered. And I'm just decided I'm going to walk back and just see if this kid stops me. And me and Gary kind of like cross paths, and he like grabs me by the chest, and he's like, "Hey, what's the password to get back in?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "It's Asian hookers. Don't forget that." And then just walked past me. I was like, "Okay." And then I kept going back, and like McCluskey was back there. A couple other guys were back there, but we met with.
Of course, McCluskey was.
Yeah, right. I mean, but I got to talk with Jim, and it was kind of cool because, you know, I remember being like, you know, with your swing, I don't really have any swing questions, but I'd love to know about your consistency putting, and it was just and he was such a down-to-earth guy. Him and his wife, Tabitha, were there. They're awesome people. That was a very memorable moment of trying to, you know, be back where I shouldn't have been.
You didn't just walk up and go like, "What's wrong with your swing?"
I didn't ask, actually.
Why
No,
do you do
McCluskey was, as you can imagine, he was just like the gregarious, like talking with everybody. Like he, you know, not that I didn't belong there either, but he was, you know, just hamming it up with everyone. And he was like, "Oh yeah, JT, come here," and starts, you know, I'm like, "Oh God, like I don't want to like I don't want to do that," you know, because I'm sure that's the moment we get kicked out where you're starting to realize that, yeah, you're not supposed to be back here. But that was a fun time.
To be clear, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with Jim's swing at all.
No.
It's just taken to extremes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar to Mr.
Ironically known as like one of the better iron strikers.
Well, he's a range rat, man.
And
That guy
doesn't he have the most
puts the
59s on tour?
the lowest score ever. He shot
Yeah.
58.
He shot
He shot
58, but I think he had
Mr.
three
58.
59s as well.
Yeah.
When you never miss the
That's
fairway or
18
green.
holes, people.
Yeah. Not 9.
In tournament golf on tour.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. And a guy that doesn't hit it long
I-
either.
I still miss our time there. I thought Myrtle Beach was fun.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, we
Monday
had
after
no
Masters.
responsibilities, dude.
Well, we kind of did.
Hey, I was
We
responsible.
went to college.
Come on.
I didn't. I don't know what you guys were doing.
Everybody hated me there because I got all the good grades, and you know
Nobody
they
hated
they
you.
curved
Who
the
hated
grades.
Tritech?
No,
Yeah, that's true.
Certainly not. What's his name that said Tritech?
Every time.
Every time I saw me, but I'd get A's on almost all the exams. Everyone else was getting like C's and D's because they thought it would be curved.
Let
They
me
would
just
curve it to my grade.
let me just rephrase that. You were getting all A's at the Golf Academy of America.
Well, yeah,
And I don't know what you're talking about. I had a 3.8 when we graduated.
yeah. I also
I didn't do
agree.
terrible.
Just
I
we all
just
did- we all
remember-
did great at a school that doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore and isn't accredited.
I just remember one day in business law
Thanks,
class.
John.
Yeah, business law class, we got our test back. And teacher's talking about, well, I curved it a few points, you know. Average was 58,
Oh, I do remember.
and I curved it to the highest score, which was a 97.
Which one was this?
Business law.
Business law.
Business law.
Yeah.
That was
Curved it to a 97. It was like everyone just went, Tritech, come on. You're killing us here. We need to pass.
I couldn't even tell you what my grade was on that.
Me
Yeah.
neither.
I did pretty good in everything though.
Yeah, you both you guys learned way faster. It was so annoying.
Yeah. Well, I never learned. So honestly, I
Oh,
never
this-
learned.
This is the segue.
Yeah. I didn't.
You were telling us something earlier.
Was I?
Yeah. Concussions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested to hear about this.
So here's how I approached school and why I failed at actual college.
Did you you went to state? Or
I
no?
went to Iowa State for 1 year.
Okay.
After first semester, I was on academic probation. I went to half of second semester, and I was failing another class, so I was going to get kicked out anyway, so I just stopped going. So my entire high school career, I think I opened one textbook to get some math problems out of it to do. And that was about it.
Meaning it all came easy to you, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I would, before any quiz or test,
So annoying.
which was most of our grade, I would have a few notes from class of important things, and I would basically just take like pictures of the page of notes in my head, and I could access any of that information basically at will on the
Wow.
test.
That's impressive.
So it's like having note cards,
Oh yeah.
pretty much.
They say that's common with a lot of 4.0 students, and they're young.
Yeah.
They just
right.
have photographic memory.
My senior year, I think I turned in like 2 homework assignments out of all my classes. I never did homework because I could still get an 88, 89 just by
Acing all the tests.
acing all the tests. I actually got called into a teacher's office because it was 3 tests in a row. I got 100%. It was math tests, and I didn't show a single problem because I did them all in my head.
They thought you cheated.
I didn't do any of my show any of my work.
Yeah.
I hadn't turned in a single assignment that week,
Yeah.
and I got 100% on everything.
Dude, I was the opposite. My ass relied on projects because I knew I was gonna flunk tests. I was like,
Same.
please God, bring on the projects.
Yeah.
'Cause I'll
Give
ace
me
the
more
projects.
homework.
Yeah, I loved projects.
I
But
hated tests.
It was the same thing at the golf academy. I don't think I did hardly any homework the entire time I was there, but it was only 20% of our grade, so it didn't matter that much. And then all the tests got curved anyway, so usually my test
you.
scores were high enough
Yeah.
that I would actually end up with
Curved off of you.
110% on the test
Yeah.
because they would have to curve it so much so people would pass because they were getting 60s and 50s.
You're right. Pete, we did hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no one sitting here was in that category.
No.
No.
We took it.
We all
fairly
did well.
seriously.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes before the test, I'd go through the chapter that the test or quiz is on, and I would just
Don't.
highlight the information in my head, and then just access it
Asshole.
as I needed to during the test. And
Meanwhile,
That's
I'm
all
like
I ever did.
sweating
You say
bullets
that.
throughout the
You
week,
say that.
reading
that,
a paragraph 9 times and still being like, I don't understand.
But when that person starts to struggle is when they get into a subject or an area that starts to challenge them.
right,
That's the downfall of that because he's so
Exactly.
used to
Oh.
being like,
Right.
you hear about that, like I'm kind of generalizing, but like kids that do really well in high school and then have like a freaking culture shock in college with like, oh, I actually have to study or I'm going to fail. Because like it's way harder and high school doesn't prepare you for shit.
each test is over
Never
like
does.
4 chapters, not
Yeah.
just one. It's
Yeah.
not- yeah.
Where did you fall on that spectrum, Joe?
Did you finish high school? Is that?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I did.
Okay. Come on. Oh my God.
I actually finished. I got my
Zing!
No, I was kind of the same. I would do like, I wouldn't ace a test, but I could do pretty well. But
Yeah.
homework, I was just outside too much, man.
See, that was
Yeah.
my issue. I didn't do homework, but my grades reflected that.
I would do
like
decent on the
2.9
tests, and I knew I could
high
do
school.
decent on the tests. So
Oh.
I kind of just
Man, I was brutal at tests, dude. I just for some reason my brain would freeze up and I couldn't remember anything.
you started doing the like making a animal in the multiple choice. You know,
No, you're
making
supposed
it
to
a
always
sign.
you're always supposed to put C, right?
Yeah. C is if you don't know, put C.
The probability was like 60% or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
probably
I
where I
was-
went wrong. I went like A, B, C, D, A, B, you know.
You got everything wrong.
Yep.
And you didn't put your name on
I
it.
do
so you
remember-
were-
no,
So you were the guy that
so
got
I-
docked points for not writing his name on the test.
No, I'm not talking like SAT, but
Yeah.
I remember the one class in high school I failed was Spanish 2. And I remember doing that with one of our tests because I didn't study and I didn't know what
You just
it was.
went back
So I
and
just went
forth.
like A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
C, B, A, I just
Random?
got like a 33%. And the teacher brought me in and was like, what was going on here? And I was just like, oh, I didn't study. She was just like, okay.
Is it not obvious?
She really didn't know what to do with it.
So at least you're honest. A for honest.
Right, yeah. I'm like, sorry, this just isn't that interesting.
When I was younger, I was kind of prototypical, like conditionally applied myself. So like if I didn't like
If
a
it interested
subject,
you.
Yeah.
So that was my problem. Was like I could get mostly A's and B's, and then I'd always have like 1 F or maybe 2,
Mm.
and it was just like it was often related to a subject I didn't care about, and the teacher generally really sucked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were
That
like
matters.
a huge asshole, or they didn't care about what they were doing. So I was like
matters.
totally not caring.
Right.
Like, not only do I hate algebra, you're making this really uninteresting. So it ain't happening.
And that was my other issue with college was my first year. I didn't take a single class related to my major. It was all just prerequisites.
Who does?
I was doing like Econ 101 and Eastern Asian Religious Studies and theater and foreign language. And I'm like, this isn't what my degree is in. Why am I here? Why am I spending $10,000
Yeah, I had some
for
of those.
stuff that's useless?
Sociology,
Right.
Yeah.
communications. Sociology, the professor was definitely high every time. I mean, his hair was like this, and he was just like, he like would always show up at class like, what are we going to talk about today?
These lights are so bright.
Like, the teacher you tell?
And yeah, the same thought went through my head, like thousands of dollars are being spent for this right now. It's ridiculous.
My first day of calculus, I think it was calculus 2 because I took calculus in high school. But teacher walks in, the guy's like 85 years old. And he just goes, well, I'm tenured. I got 2 more years. They can't get rid of me. Here are your problems on the board. Also do these 5 out of the book. If you come up and ask me questions, I'm deaf in my ears anyway, and I can't listen to you. Oh, and by the way, I'm required to have 1 office hour minimum. Here it is. I won't be there if you show up. And he just sat there
Wow.
reading or like on his laptop the whole class, the hour of lecture.
Yeah.
And it was just examples on the board. That's all it was. It's like, if you want to figure out how to do it, read the beginning of the chapter. It explains it.
Yeah.
Man.
At State, though, too, you had 400-plus person lectures,
Yeah,
which
that
doesn't help.
that calculus
Like, we had,
was probably 250, I think.
I think my biggest lecture was communications. It peaked almost 500.
Yeah, we had
500 students. It's
That's
like,
crazy, man.
and I definitely am dumb enough that I need personal attention. And you ain't getting it with 500 people.
yeah, I think my
Like,
my journalism class was about 400,
That
450
lone
as
hand
well.
that goes up.
I need help.
Could you repeat that again?
You needed like a friggin' microphone because you're in an auditorium.
Yeah.
It's not a joke. Like, and then
Oh,
you-
man.
they weren't. You just didn't get interaction. I mean, you could maybe get some interaction from the hell are they called?
TAs.
The TAs, yeah.
Teacher
But
assistant.
They're
about
students
it.
themselves. They're just
Right.
like seniors.
yeah,
I'm just trying to get my degree.
I'm just trying to make some
it's
money.
kind of like that. That movie Accepted. We love that.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
funny movie.
I haven't seen it.
But that moment where he's like, where Justin Long's like at the college and he's just like watching, like everything's like going and like fast paced.
Yep.
And then there's like students like stressing in their books, and he's just like, this is what college is.
Yep.
That's kind of how I felt.
It's a pretty real depiction,
like
man.
overwhelming, like waste of time.
It is.
in a lot of ways.
Seems like that. Yeah.
I mean, at least until junior year,
Mm-hmm.
and then you
actually
finally get
to
a
your
lot.
subjects of your
which
degree.
I never got there, so that's probably why.
And
I
then,
dropped out before I got there.
and then you get hired for a job, and they say, okay, everything they taught you is wrong.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you can't
No
apply
real
your
world
knowledge
experience,
to real
right.
world.
Yeah.
Goodness
Um,
sakes. Yeah. Hence why we all
We're
ended up
not
at the
saying
Golf Academy.
don't go to college.
This
here.
is
No,
not a
just
good
saying-
infomercial.
I might
like-
be saying that.
No,
It's
but
not for everyone.
plan to your future. Like if college is for you and it,
Right.
it relates to a STEM field that you want to go in, then it totally makes sense. But
Right.
not for golf instructors.
Well, I might save
Clearly.
the concussion talk for next time. I think we've lectured ourselves long enough here.
No doubt.
People, I'm sure, have clicked off about 35 minutes ago. So,
Not live. If they don't click, we're not live. It's fine.
or they scrubbed around at the end again. But thank you for watching.
If they did, they missed a lot of great stuff.
That's true. If you have any questions you'd like us to discuss, leave them in the comments below. Or if you're looking for lessons or fittings, obviously that's what we're all about here at Imperial Golf. Go ahead and click the link in the description. You can schedule an appointment with us.
ImperialGolfKC.com.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
hopefully. I would have left a low credit.